movies from various genres and decades. Stay tuned for this episode. Hello, everyone. We're back, episode 29, with All Monsters, Great and Small 2. We had a lot that we wanted to talk about more from the last one. At least I know Bill and I did, and kaiju-wise, but Gary wanted to do more monsters, so here we are. And I'll let Gary start out this time.
Okay, well, my first one is from 1957, and we mentioned it last time because it was an honorable mention last time, The Deadly Mantis. Probably the second best of the giant bug movies, or maybe third best because you got to have them and then Tarantula and then Deadly Mantis. Yeah. Pretty much what you would expect, a giant praying mantis. But praying mantises are pretty brutal to begin with, and then to make one massive, it's a really cool movie, I think. It doesn't vary a lot from the typical storyline of all these giant monster movies, but it's just a good time movie. They did a really good job with it.
Another chance to see a giant monster trampling on a city and cars and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
The fun stuff.
The fun stuff. That's what it's all about, right?
It is. And I think they actually built the big mantis for this thing too. Although
I believe they did, yeah. I think I've seen pictures of it.
Which is crazy. Cool. Back when they had physical effects, you had to build stuff.
Wow. Hey, some of us still do that.
I think that's the best way to do it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so am I up?
Yep.
All right, so my first is I consider the granddaddy of them all, of the giant monster movies anyway. The very first, at least one of the first, unless you count dinosaurs, I guess. King Kong. I have a prop. The book, the original novelization of King Kong. And it was a very interesting story. I think everybody knows the story of King Kong, right, by now. If you've seen one of the three versions, the original and 33. The interesting thing about the novelization was it was written at the same time they were filming the movie. So there's actually some variations with the movie to the novelization. And my other props almost fell. What was I saying? Oh, and I also have a very nostalgic feeling toward this movie and this book because it was the first book I ever read, third grade, or full-length book anyway. Not kind of like Dr. Seuss and little kids' books like that.
Right.
And it was an interesting story about the making of it. You'll see there, the story was conceived by Edgar Wallace and Marion C. Cooper. Edgar Wallace was famous for a lot of other horror stories in the 30s. His novels go all the way back to the 20s. He did a lot of movies that were adapted.
Oh, we lost Bill.
He's trying to punch through the fourth dimension, folks.
We've been trying to hide this, but Bill's actually on a space station in deep space at the moment. And I think he's got some interference here.
Some gamma rays or something.
Something's going on. As long as he's, frozen, I can add something about the King Kong movie, which is kind of interesting. Because I recently did an episode with the Most Dangerous Game, which I think Bill covered in a previous episode.
I think he did.
That movie was actually filmed on the same sets as King Kong, and at the same time. They were filming at night while King Kong was filming during the day. But King Kong came out later because they had to do a lot of after post-production effects that they didn't have to do with the Most Dangerous Game. And if Bill ever comes back, we ever get communication. Maybe he's got some solar activity out there or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I
Is
see him returning.
he coming back in?
It looks that way.
Bill? Bill?
Bill, are you out there?
I hope he doesn't come back as a giant monster.
There he is.
There he is.
Hey, Bill, you there?
Here I am.
While you were there, while you were in the ether out there, I added in some details, some little trivia about the King Kong movie, which I'm sure you know, which is that the most dangerous game was filmed on the same sets at night while they were filming King Kong during the day.
Yes, even the log is in there. The log scene, the giant log on Skull Island. Some of the
Yes,
same actors are in there too. Fay Ray and Robert
yes,
Armstrong are both in Most Dangerous Game. One of my
yeah,
favorite horror movies.
and they had some part of the crew was the same as well. Yeah,
I believe
I
so.
think.
Oh, Noble Johnson is also in both of them. The black
Yeah,
native,
yeah.
and he's also one of the servants in Most Dangerous Game. So anyway, I was saying, I don't know where you guys lost me, but Edgar Wallace wound up passing away because of King Kong. He was on a boat heading to the United States to write the novelization with Marion C. Cooper, and he contracted pneumonia and passes away. So they
Oh,
got
jeez.
the novelization, and a very famous writer too in his time, one of the best of his era. Um, that one there's several versions of it. I can't think of it right now. It became a Bela Lugosi movie, but then there's a couple of European versions of it too. Anyway, hopefully it comes to me. But so they got Delos Lovelace to write the novelization instead. So the giant bugs at the bottom of the ravine and that log scene is in there. There's another scene where Kong fights a Triceratops, which I believe they filmed some of these and somehow wound up on the cutting room floor. They thought it was too much excitement, believe it or not. This was a belief at the time that you could have so much excitement the audience just couldn't handle it. But they say people ran out of the theater. They never saw anything like this. They thought, a real gorilla, but it was, of course, stop motion special effects and things.
Right.
But it was very innovative for its time. It's in the American Film Institute's top 100 movies of all time. It usually clocks in somewhere around 50, 55, somewhere in there. And I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. Not just greatest monster movies, but one of the greatest movies ever made, or at least one of. But that's my first King Kong.
All right. I got that. A friend of mine sent me I've never seen it before, but on Voodoo, the little codes, and he sent
Yeah.
me that. He goes, I don't use these things. I go, okay. So he just gave me like a stack of like 10 of them, and I was like, oh, King Kong, cool. I said that. Now I don't have to pull it off the shelf. I just go online and watch it that way.
There you go.
But
I believe Max has it streaming in their TCM hub. Usually comes and
yeah,
goes, but most of the time it's there.
all
But I have it
right.
on disc.
Well, I'm going to step into Bill territory, or as we like to affectionately call him, Kaiju Bill.
I'm
And the
afraid.
first one up is from 1994, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. We just watched this again this weekend, and always have a ball with these movies. Always. I mean, you can see them so many times, and it's almost like each time you're watching it again and again because you do, you it does bring back memories for some people, and especially the older Godzillas, because these ones from the 90s up until they did that Jurassic Park Godzilla. Uh, I didn't see them in the theaters because I don't think they played here in the United States.
Otherwise known as Ferris Bueller's Godzilla.
Yeah,
Godzilla versus Ferris Bueller, I call it.
yeah. So
Okay.
this is the 21st film in the whole entire franchise, and the sixth in the I'll butcher it, but Bill properly say it. I say
I say yes. The
I say,
Heisei super giant.
I say so.
That's right.
and and it's really cool. I was just reading about it, and I didn't even notice. And now I want to go and watch that movie. It's like there's a character called Mogira, and it makes the first appearance since 1957's The Mysterians. And
Hmm.
I never knew that's kind of cool that they bring in from a total different franchise, bring that in. And then it has, of course, another variation of a smaller Godzilla. This one is Little Godzilla. I mean, not very creative with the name. But because I think it was in the 70s, it was named Minnow or
Minya.
Minya.
Minya was
So,
Minya was the son.
um, and he's
Minya's
had,
gonna make an appearance later.
yeah, he, it's pretty good. At first, when you see this space Godzilla coming in from, obviously from space, it looks like this diamond formation. Uh, it could be like almost crystal, um, like a meteorite or a asteroid or something. And then it, I just like how it never fails when something's coming from space. You always have a space station, and the space station always gets destroyed. You know, it's like you can see it's like, oh God, guys, can you like veer to the left a little bit and let this whatever it is get by, But um it was it really kind of became one of my favorite ones and of that era because it's like having Godzilla almost like coming up against another fleshy Godzilla instead of Mecha Godzilla coming up in another flesh Godzilla type character. But they did a variation looks on it, so it's like you say Space Godzilla, maybe they could have given it a different name, you know. But
That's Godzilla from space.
yeah, Godzilla from space. But it's 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 a really, really good one. It gets followed by, Godzilla versus Destroya, which I always thought that was a cool name.
That's
But
the last series. Yeah. I think
and
just before it is Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla 2 is the one before it, I believe. Is that right? Or am I
yeah,
missing one in there?
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah,
I think that's the order.
I gotten these Godzilla ones that came out in the 90s and the early 2000s, with the two on one Blu-rays, and some of them are a little out of order. Then once in a while they'll put one by itself, but it makes it a little difficult when you try, for someone like myself that I like to put them in chronological order, and so I get it as close as I can. But if you like seeing, it had still to this day, there's nothing beats practical effect Godzilla. I mean, all it looks the way they did the camera angles, it looks like it could be a CGI Godzilla, but it's not. It's just some guy in a rubber suit walking around, you know.
Guy in a suit is always good.
I mean, it's and then they combine that, with some the the different kind of early CGI type effects and um but overall this is a real one, like I said, one of my favorites. And if you hadn't seen it, I guarantee you, if you love Godzilla, you're gonna love this
Yeah, they have a lot of action in the whole Heisei
one. Oh yeah,
series. That was kind of their point was let's just do away with those human subplots. Just have the monsters
Yeah.
fight and destroy cities and all that kind of stuff. There's
Well,
very little,
this one
very little,
had a
a
little
little
bit of
bit, but
human
not
stuff,
not as much
but
as
it
not as
I
much
mean,
as that.
and then it was just, I don't know, it was it was just so much fun to watch, and that's my first one.
You take two guys, put them in rubber monster suits, and have them duke it out, and it's just endless fun.
Hey, great therapy.
I think so.
Okay, well then that brings us back around to me. I'm going to go with a rather unusual one. A lot of people absolutely hate this movie. I would say that other than the special effects, it's a really good movie. And yes, the monster looks like you're going to laugh at it, stupid. Which is the problem with the movie. It's also from 1957, The Giant Claw. Um, this thing comes from outer space. Well, it actually comes from like area of antimatter space or something, and it keeps getting picked up as a UFO, and it trashes a fighter jet, and then there are other appearances of it. And it turns out it's this giant creature, which now here's a funny story. Jeff Morrow is in this movie. Jeff Morrow apparently none of the cast saw the monster when they were making the movie. They had no idea what it was going to look like, and they sent it off to Mexico to do some really low budget monster effects. And what they came up with was this ridiculous looking bird puppet that looks like it should be on the Muppet Show or maybe a Looney Tunes character or something. It's like ridiculous. And
Right,
it's not articulated at all. It doesn't move. Um, and so, it completely, I mean, to a lot of people, it completely ruined the movie. But I will say this, you ignore the monster. Picture it as something else. And it's actually a really good movie. It's got a good story. The acting is all good. It's just marred by that one thing.
right.
I have seen that one. It is a fun one actually. They don't show the monster too much,
No,
but which is a good thing, except for the
yes.
claws. I think you see the claws quite a bit.
Yeah, you do
People
see the
getting
claws,
carried
but
around.
you don't see the face with
Yeah.
that weird little tuft and like googly eye looking thing.
And every now and again, if you look closely enough, you can see the top of the claws come down into the screen, which I
Yeah.
don't think was supposed to happen.
No.
But you got to be quick-eyed. But it's you'll catch it every now and again.
Yeah.
It's a fun movie though. I do like that.
It is,
Very early kaiju.
and I can absolutely see why some of the cast were really upset about it because they went and did their all. It was actually a good script, good movie,
It
and then
is
they come
decent.
and see that. And like Jeff Morrow said, there were people laughing at it when it was on the screen, and he just slinked out of the theater hoping to not be seen.
Right. I mean, I guess, yeah.
You know what it reminds me of? I don't know if you remember Rudolph's Shiny New Year, that big buzzard that's in that one.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It kind of looks like that.
yeah,
That's what it always reminded me of, anyway.
yeah.
But that's so fun. All right, I'm up. What if I told you the Dutch did a kaiju movie? Did a kaiju movie in Denmark. The first movie ever filmed in Denmark was a kaiju movie called Reptilicus. And actually, it's not a bad movie. The special effects are not that much better than the giant claw, maybe a little, not much. But it's this giant lizard dragon type thing, and it has scales that bullets and almost like armor that nothing can penetrate it. So the army comes after it, and it destroys downtown Denmark. But there is kind of a subplot in there with the military fighting with the scientists who want to study the monster in the military that want to destroy it. So it does have a little, at least a little bit of a message and subplot and that kind of thing. And they did that fairly well. The monster also has an acid saliva that it spits at the city and people and anything else. It just eats away at anything. Kind of a fun movie. And the standout scenes is there's a drawbridge going up, right? And these bicyclists are bicycling away from Reptilicus to get away from them. And the drawbridge opens, and the bicyclists all go over the edge of the drawbridge and into the water. And there's no special effects in there whatsoever. You are seeing the Denmark Olympic bicycle team go flying over a drawbridge and into the drink. They volunteered to do this. A lot of people in Denmark volunteered to be in this movie. They were all very excited. The first movie being made here in Denmark. I think it's public domain now, so it's readily available on disc from all kinds of companies or streaming wherever. But it's a fun movie. I first saw it on the Late Great Horror Show back in the early '80s. It's another fun horror movie. Just you can't go wrong with a giant monster busting up a different city for a change instead of an Asian city. This time it's a European city.
Yeah.
You don't get too many of those.
No, you don't.
Not enough, I say. It's 1961, by the way. Want to know the year. So I'm up to 1961.
Oh, there you go. I think I saw that. It sounds very familiar.
You might have. It plays on a lot of late night. Used to play on a lot of late night TV shows, movies and things like that. Cable had it all the time. Pretty common one, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, my second one comes from 1995, and it's Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. And this was the ninth installment of the franchise. And this was more modern, and Gamera kind of looked a little different than I noticed that he looked a little sleeker than he did in especially the very first film. The very first film, he looked like he ate too many people or something. And so here, I believe this is the first of a trilogy.
It is.
And I had gotten this trilogy on Blu-ray years ago, and again, this was another one I never heard of until Blu-ray came around. I knew the classic, but not this. I mean, the Showa era, and I had the box sets for that, and I really wish that they would do box sets for all the newer ones. But this one is really good. I mean, Gamera, it had Super Gaios.
Yeah, didn't he fight a bunch of Gausses?
Gausses? Yeah.
What's the plural of Gauss? Gaussi?
Gaussi?
Gaussi sounds right, yeah.
Well, this one is Super Gaussi. I guess he comes in flying in, got a little G on his chest or something, but
by the way, they did do a box set of that one because I own it, but I've only seen the first one.
You only seen this one.
Yeah, there is a box of it though, because I own the other two. I still have to watch it.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun to watch. I mean, so it was like a reintroduction to Gamera, and I guess in modern times you might call it a reboot, or so whatever it is. I still think it's a continuation, even though it seems to not really play on the first film. It just kind of shows that it's a defender of the children. Still, And it's like just the kids in this are hilarious. Not as hilarious as the ones in the 70s. In the 70s, they I don't know if they were on
Those
what they were giving those kids, you know.
those kids were intentionally funny though.
Yeah, they weren't trying to do it on purpose. It's just, and then of course the dubbing, you know, one thing with these Japanese monster movies, the dubbing, I mean, I get it in the early days, they didn't have too many Japanese American voice actors, so they just got people that, I mean, their voices just do not match their person. I mean, it'd be like if someone for Bill, it'd be like someone that comes with a squeaky little voice. I was like, it just doesn't work, or it comes with an accent that just doesn't fit what Bill is and or his character. So this is what they do. Um, Later on, I noticed that some of these giant monsters, they have actors that can speak both Japanese and English. So, and that makes it good for, or they get just someone that can speak English to do the dub.
Yeah,
Uh,
some of the early Godzilla movies. George Takei did some of the dubbing for a few of those kaiju movies before he was on, or maybe even during. I don't know. His time on Star Trek.
yeah,
It was one of his early roles.
interesting thing is this one was distributed by Toho, which
It is interesting.
I when
We
I
didn't
just
get a
read
crossover.
when I read that, I was like going, wait a second, who defected over? I don't think Godzilla's going to like that very much. Which, speaking of that, I mean, I'm sure you two would agree, a Godzilla versus Gamera movie needs to be
That would
made.
be awesome.
We need
I,
to have that crossover.
it needs
Monsterverse
to,
can make it happen, I think.
yeah, especially
They have
since,
the
I
money.
mean, if you get enough of the audience that said, yeah, we'll plunk down our, 10 or whatever dollars per ticket, you know, probably more in some other places, but if you get a couple
They'll probably
100 million
throw. They'd
people,
probably have to throw King Kong in it, but I'd be okay with that as well. But
yeah, I mean,
I'd be
add
okay.
add them all in there. Have like just a true monster movie. Everybody, maybe if in,
Yes,
in
that
cam
is.
cameo form,
Yeah.
even little Godzilla.
Like an Avengers Endgame, but
Oh my God, that would be crazy.
with the kaiju,
Yeah.
Have the little people from Mothra's little twins.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
the
the twin.
the twin Mothra girls.
Yes.
There was a kaiju endgame. Actually, before I get to that, though, it is kind of a reboot because the original Gamera series, Gamera does die in the last movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. If anybody can ever sit through Gamera Super Monster,
I've watched
that movie
all
is
of the
rough.
Gamera movies.
That one is a tough one.
That one is rough. But if you can get through it, yeah, Gamera dies in the end. So that is the end of that series. So it does have to be a reboot. But good segue with Marvel's Inverse because they did do that in the kaiju world in a little segment I like to call
Oh,
"Destroy All Monsters, Big and Small."
okay, so we'll do yours next, and then we'll go back to mine.
All right, sorry, but you segued.
Yeah. It's a perfect segue. So go
I'm
for it.
sorry.
Perfect fit.
I'm sorry, I usurped a little bit there.
That's all right. Go for it.
And they do have the kaiju's from Destroy All Monsters, Big and Small. Well, actually, it's Destroy All Monsters. Um, and you had all the monsters in this thing. Gorosaurus was from King Kong Escapes. Baragon was from Frankenstein Conquers the World. Manda comes in from Atragon. Everybody's in this thing. And then at the very end, you get a cameo from Ghidra, the three-headed monster. And there is a plot. It's not that great, but there's a
There
plot.
is there is a plot.
The
They
plot
tacked one
is
on
that
there.
the Kylax are coming in from outer space and they want to take over the world. And they have taken over the monsters that by now have been gathered down to Monster Island. And they have taken them over and they're going to attack all the major cities in the world. Godzilla attacks New York and destroys the UN building, which is interesting. Gorosaurus tackles France. Rodan tackles Moscow. Mothra, I forget which one. But anyway, they all tackle a major city and these Kylax. And it's up to the humans to try and take them back over and turn them back on the Kylax in order to stop them. And that's your plot. It is, I think what I read before, when they filmed this actually broke the record of all-time puppeteering in a movie. This was pre-Muppets movies, though. So,
Right.
in the back, you can see which characters are on here. I do have a Minya in there. There's a Baragon, there's a Minya, Ghidra, and Gorosaurus are all in this one. And there's two sets of this, but I wanted that one because this one had more action figures that I didn't have in other sets. So it's pretty pricey, but it's
Oh, I'm sure.
worth it.
And nowadays, I'm sure you look on eBay, that thing is probably going for triple what you bought it for.
Yeah, it probably is, actually. I got it at a comic book store, actually. Well, actually, I should say my wife got it at a comic book store for Christmas one year. And I know that's where she got it because we saw it. And I was drooling over it one day when we were at the comic book store. But that's really the last really fun. It was actually the first Godzilla movie I saw, also on the Lake Great Horror Show. So I got two movies there for this Lake Great Horror Show in this episode. But that was the first Godzilla movie I ever saw. It still remains one of my favorites. It has everybody in it. You just can't beat it. It's a lot of fun. Oh, monsters just tackling every city in the world, and then they have to team up to try and maybe beat the Kylax. And they even have a spaceship that's really cool too. It almost looks like another kaiju. It's like flames, and Godzilla and the other monsters try to destroy that, and all kinds of action, wall-to-wall action, almost like the Heisei series. But sorry, I usurped that, but you gave me the segue.
Yeah, gave you the segue. Yeah, so this is, I mean, if you didn't want to go and watch the old Gamera movies, you can start right here.
You could.
But I'd recommend, go see the old ones too. A lot of fun.
So then we're back around for my third.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I did Tarantula last time. So let's go with another giant spider movie, Earth versus the Spider, which is a Burt I. Gordon movie, which, for those who don't know, he was famous for doing, they called him Mr. Big because number one, it's his initials, but number two, it was so many of his movies were like oversized things, whether it's people or monsters. And, I'd say this one's almost as good as Tarantula. Although the title's a little confusing, it should be called One Small City versus the Spider.
Right.
They got a giant tarantula again, and they wind up thinking they've killed it. They bring it into the gym at the school, and it's got a little bit of a blob thing because at one point the kids are sort of the ones who are going after it, and nobody's believing them. But it winds up, it wasn't actually dead. It was just stunned, and it comes back to life. And and you got a little of that rock and roll culture because there's a band practicing and people are dancing and stuff, which they did a lot of that back in the 50s. I'm not a big fan of that, but I can put up with it for small pieces. And this was 1958, by the way. It's another fun movie.
Yeah, I remember seeing that one. That was good. That was really good.
It is. And one small trivia, there's a guy in there. I'm trying to find what his acting name was, but there's a guy in there from my hometown, Erie, Pennsylvania. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out. Not too many Erie, PA guys. Yeah, there is. I can't find his name. I can't remember which one it was. My aunt told me about it.
And for people who watch Green Acres, Mr. Ziffel is in that movie. He plays like the janitor in the school.
That's
Oh my
right, he
God.
is. And kind of doing the same shtick a little bit, I think.
Kind of,
If I
well,
remember.
sort of, yeah,
A
a
little
little
bit.
bit. And
A
the
little
funny
bit.
thing is, my understanding is, even for there and for like Green Acres, he had a lot of trouble working because he was pretty much deaf, and so he
Oh, that
couldn't really hear other
that
people's lines. He couldn't hear directions very well, but
makes it. I mean, not saying anything bad about deaf people, but that kind of made the movie a little
yeah,
bit.
it also seems like it would make it a little bit difficult on set, you know?
Probably so. That is a fun one, though.
Yep.
The giant bug attacking cities movie.
Oh yeah.
Well, then we've come back around to you, Ron.
All right. Well, skip up a couple years to 2001, and we have Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah. They're up on the Godzilla and King Ghidorah are up there. They're just chilling. And it's called Giant Monsters All Out Attack. And I love when they do these. I call them like the buddy buddy uh, movies of kaiju's. You know, where you got a bunch of them all together. Even though there's some that have these, but now that they have like equal billing. You know, and of course you get the Mothra girls. You know, they're here too. And it starts off, and I was reading somewhere, and Bill will probably correct me. Godzilla is basically the protector of the Earth, whereas Mothra is protector of Earth's people.
I think it's something like that. Yeah.
And then so they combine forces when King Ghidorah comes, from Venus. I think he was coming from Venus, and just to cause damage. And it's like it never fails. It seems like the bad guy comes in, cause damage. The good guys fight him, and they cause even more damage. And it's like I could just imagine the people are like going, "Can you just go to another city? We just finished rebuilding." It's like,
There
come on,
goes Tokyo.
yep,
It does seem like sometimes the attack on Godzilla does more damage to the city than Godzilla himself, or the
yeah,
kaiju themselves, or at least as much damage. This is part of
yeah,
another series too, another reboot, by the way. If you uh, know your lineage, there. This is part of the Millennium series.
yes, yeah, Millennium,
Starts with Godzilla 2000.
and it's the third one, and it's a
Third reboot.
direct. They say it's a direct sequel to the 1954 movie.
Hmm.
And I mean, I don't remember Mothra or King Ghidorah in the but
More than
um,
that one.
but it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of those direct sequels. If you really, I mean, it's like sometimes I wonder if they just don't want to rewatch some of those other ones and just say, I'll watch the first one and say it's a direct sequel. Call it good there. Because all the rest would just be too messy. Because how are you going to explain Godzilla when he flies backwards? How else are you going to say? But anyways, just as it says, giant monsters all out attack. It is just one of my favorite words. You got the multiple monsters, and everyone's got, like I said, equal billing. And this is one I really wish I could have seen in the movie theater. And I was talking with my girlfriend about that. I said, I'd be so amazing if you had your own movie theater and get a hold of the original prints of these movies. Obviously, it's going to be subtitled, but still, to see it on a big screen and would be amazing. And this is one that I bet would be the perfect one to go to.
The first in that series was Godzilla 2000. I actually did see that in the theater. That one did come to a few theaters for a limited time.
Yeah,
But that's the only one that I know that went to that was in the theaters that I know of the series.
And Godzilla 2000, as funny as it was released in 1999.
Actually, I think it was 2001.
Yeah.
It was off by a year. I know that because it usually takes a year to come over here.
Oh yeah. And
because when did Godzilla versus Ferris Bueller come out? Wasn't that 98? So they had to get the right. They had to get the right tag.
Godzilla versus Ferris Bueller.
That's what I always
thought. That is the
thought.
only one. Honestly, I mean, if people out there like that movie, fine. That's one Godzilla movie I won't buy.
Okay, I just settled on the new name for it. Ferris Bueller's Godzilla Day Off.
Yeah, his day off. His day off. But another great monster movie. I mean, kaijus. You know, just destroying the cities is getting most of the destroying. I mean, and you gotta love the fact, you know, the three-headed dragon, King Ghidorah. I mean, I think out of all of the monsters that Godzilla's came up against, I think he's the most interesting and I think the most cool looking. I mean, and yeah, and it also even references the 1998 film, the Ferris Bueller one. It references it in there. And it's not enough that I mean, unless you're going like frame by frame. I had to write that down as a tidbit. I was checking, you know, the information and on Wikipedia. And unless you like really paying close attention, getting your notepad out, you know, so someone must have did that. And props to that person.
Series, yeah, the Millennium series does poke a lot of fun at Godzilla versus Ferris Bueller, as I like to call it. They also well, maybe it was MonsterVerse one where they said, as we all know, Godzilla never runs from the military when they're in training to fight Godzilla because you know that one they did. And the final series of Millennium was Godzilla Final Wars, and they actually did bring in the 1998 Godzilla, and he's on there for like a few seconds and gets destroyed really quickly. But
of course,
yeah.
I almost picked Final Wars, and it was going to be a little bit of a crossover with progressive rock because Keith Emerson did the soundtrack or did some songs in it.
Yeah, that one's fun. That one's underrated. Everybody hates that one, or I don't know. It didn't do very well anyway, but I don't know why. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I found out about that through a friend of mine. He goes, "Dude, you gotta find this." All right, and I mean, I like when they start when Godzilla movies are like set way into the future.
Yeah,
like you know, like maybe like 100 or so years in the future, and they have all these cool little space vehicles.
Royal Monsters was the first one set in the future. Was set in the futuristic year of 2000.
Oh,
25, almost 26 now, years ago. But anyway, then they forgot about that they were supposed to be the future in the later movies. But anyway.
All right, well that's my third one, and another recommended Godzilla movie. Check out.
Okay, so I guess we'll go back to the regular rotation, and I'll go next. I'm gonna go with a director who I know Bill loves a lot, and who has actually become one of my favorite directors as well, Roger Corman. And I'm going to go with Attack of the Giant Leeches, um, which, it actually, I think it might have been his brother, not Roger, who did it, as I recall. Was that right or no?
I thought it was Roger. I could be wrong though.
I think they're
Roger
maybe
Corman
both
probably at
on
least
it, but
produced it.
Gene is his brother, right?
Yeah.
In any event, the uh, the movie is actually a pretty cool movie. There's some interesting characters in it, which seems very Roger Corman like. Corman has a lot of interesting characters, people who are not necessarily the nicest people sometimes, but you somehow find a lot of fascinating things about them. Um, and again, the movie, the effects are what kill it for a lot of people because you've got these giant leeches underwater attacking people and actually taking them and holding them underwater to drain blood from them. Um, and they're like just basically people in wetsuits with like trash bags with appendages attached. So the effects look really, really stupid, but it's actually a really good movie. It's well written. Um, it's done very much on the cheap, but it's a fun movie. And the reason I didn't have a shirt for any of these shows, but I wore my Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary shirt because I actually did Attack of the Giant Leeches on an episode of Spooky Movie Time with Scary Gary, which is why I'm also wearing the top hat. But yeah, it's a very fun movie, I think.
I definitely need to check that one out.
Can't hear you, Bill. Bill's over there talking. We can't hear him.
Sorry. It's actually produced by both of them.
Oh,
Gene
both of them.
Corman
Okay.
is the producer. Roger Corman's the executive producer.
Oh, okay.
I cheated and looked it up, but
Yeah, no, I was hoping you would actually. I was hoping you would actually.
well, they both produced it basically. So
Yeah.
his wife produced a lot of movies too. Produced and directed a few, but produced a lot too for
Yeah, and
his.
his wife was actually partially responsible for the giant leech costumes.
Really
Gene Corman's
interesting.
wife, yeah. Her and one of the actors, who was also a stuntman, were the ones who developed the suits. And when I was doing the episode, writing the episode, I was trying to find out, what they made those out of, and nobody's really sure. Some people think it was black trash bags, and some people think it were like black raincoats. But either way,
Doesn't surprise me at all. Those movies were usually filmed on a budget of like $10,000, which even in the late '50s was not a lot. And
yeah,
and and that includes like the film stock.
yeah, he was notorious for doing movies on the cheap.
Yeah, but he made a profit with him. That's
Yeah,
why a lot of directors didn't like him. They said, he holds you to a budget, but you're not getting any more than this amount of money, and that's it. You can do whatever you want with it. He gives you freedom, but you can't go over. You can do anything you want, but don't go over budget. I saw well, now you got me started. I saw a documentary on him not too long ago, and he said the reason he did that was he was putting up his own money. If they had two movies in a row that failed, they would lose their house. They
oh,
literally
jeez.
mortgaged the house on every movie they made. So they couldn't lose money on many of them. So all right, I'm up.
Yep.
All right, so my next one, I'm jumping into 1972 for this movie has two titles. Well, actually, it has a few more that I'll go over. Beware the Blob, the sequel to The Blob, sometimes known as Son of the Blob. And this is a fun little movie. I want to say it was made for TV, but I'm not 100% sure of that. It has a lot of TV actors in it because it's directed by Larry Hagman of
Yeah.
Dallas fame and
The
I
Dream
Dream
of
of Jeannie.
Genie.
So a lot of people that just like I have my loving title of Godzilla versus Ferris Bueller, I lovingly call this one the movie that JR shot.
Literally.
It is. It is. So So the blob from the 1950s is in a science lab, frozen because they dropped him in the Arctic at the end of that movie. They're studying him, and some scientist uh, clumsily leaves the jar open, and the blob escapes, and it goes on another killing rampage, attacking everybody and growing with everybody that it eats. And that's basically your plot. The colors are much brighter than they were in the original. Really advertising the color TV and all that when it goes into TV. And there's a lot of other, I should look up who else is in this. There's a lot of other TV actors just because he knew a lot of other people at the time, in the TV business. So he gets a lot of other TV personalities of the era to be blob meat, basically, and by the blob. But it's another fun movie where this giant protoplasm or whatever you want to call it is going around eating people. And you know what? It's yet another one that I originally saw on the Late Great Horror Show. It's three of them today. I didn't even realize it when I made the list. And I still remember Jim Cook when he introduced it. He's introduced it as Son of the Blob. And he said, I never knew the blob got married. So, it's a good movie to make fun of. It's not real good, but it's fun.
Yeah, I actually remember when I first saw that. It was that Sunday matinee show that we had here, had in Los Angeles, and I mean it was total 70s. It just had that whole vibe. I mean, it was like if the first one, it almost, I'll say sacrilegious. It's almost as if like whatever the budget of the first one is, the second, this one kind of looked like it had half of that budget. I mean,
and that's before you adjust for inflation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
In real dollars.
So, yeah.
Robert Walker, I'm looking it up here. Richard Webb, I don't know. Shelley Berman. I kind of know these names and these faces. There's Larry Hagman. Larry Hagman does make an appearance in there, too.
Yeah.
So, anyway, a lot of TV personalities. Danny Goldman. Oh, Dick Van Patten is in there. For me, it is enough. So, there you go. A lot of TV guys get eaten up by the blob. All your favorite 70s TV stars get eaten by a blob. That's entertainment.
Get fed to the blob.
All right. Well, my fourth one will also tie into my fifth one, but fourth one jumped up a little over a decade to 2013 with Pacific Rim. And Pacific Rim, whether or not Guillermo del Toro said so or not, this is a love letter to kaiju movies. And then you add giant robots into the mix. I mean, it's like it's amazing. I mean, they call them Jaegers, and it was like really over the top kind of thing. And the Jaegers needed two pilots, one for each hemisphere, and it has the guy that later on went into Sons of Anarchy. I forgot his character's name, but and it's just so funny to listen to a British guy with an American accent. And then in that same film, there was an American guy that was doing an Australian accent. So it's like, it's like, why couldn't you just at least like switch the roles? But anyways, these kaijus are coming through this little portal in the bottom of the Pacific Ocean, and it's to another dimension or something. And it's just all these different kind of kaijus. I mean, you can tell that they were really paying homage to the old Godzilla movies and Gamera movies. I mean, it was almost like they took like a little bit of here, one monster. Now they're put them mushed them together. But these things were more violent, and it's just so. This was one I saw in the theaters, and this is I I like the fact that it's like they were speaking. It was like almost like it was speaking my language. I love that. Geez, I mean, what better thing to go up against a kaiju is a giant robot, and because obviously the military, they're sending jets and those cool little electric rays that in the original Godzilla that always, that it looks like it's an arm that comes up and it's like it looks little electrical beams. I mean, but they always destroy the military. So it's like, hey, let's get up on the same level as these creatures, and they did the robots just like how the Japanese robots were done. I mean, just so all the different little gadgets and things, um, and that really spoke to me. My younger self was like, going, that would have been cool if I was a kid watching that. And actually, whenever I watch any of these kaiju movies, it's almost like I'm not 10 years old again watching these things. And it just, obviously you check your brain at the door for these things, you just don't try to rationalize anything that's happening because it just is. It's just happening. You see these giant monsters coming out of the ocean, and then they're showing up in different places in the ocean. And then, of course, you got the two mad the mad scientist, and then there's the I want to say he's kind of like an entrepreneur, and he he tries linking himself to the kaiju mind. It's like, I mean, typical, like, this is what you don't do, and they did it. And I mean, it was kind of a clever idea, but it's like, what, you're gonna, what are you expecting this gonna happen? But um, really good one. If you want more modern kaiju movie that's not Godzilla, this is a good one to try out.
Guillermo del Toro is definitely a monster kid. I mean,
Oh,
he's definitely a fan of that kind of stuff. And when I see his name on something like that, I trust it as being something that's at least going to have the feel of the old versions of those things. He's somebody who can capture it fairly well.
so that's my fourth one.
Okay, so we're back around to me for my final one. And all my monsters so far have been really large. This one, not so much. It's about this big. 1959 Vincent Price movie, The Tingler, which is an absolute classic in my opinion. You've got this creature that lives inside of everyone, and if you get scared, it feeds on the fear until you scream, and then it paralyzes it. And so there's a lot of interpersonal relationship issues going on, and people trying to use this information and this creature to screw each other over. But Vincent Price's character is a scientist who discovers it, and he actually gets one outside of a body, and it's like kind of a creepy looking thing. I think they used something similar in an episode of like Outer Limits or Twilight Zone. I think perhaps the same prop, but kind of a creepy looking, like almost centipede bug looking thing. And it it is a very unique concept for a movie. Um, it doesn't hold up. The science doesn't hold up to modern standards, but just again, check your brain at the door. But it's a very fun movie. I think it's the uniqueness really works for it for one thing, and you can't go wrong with Vincent Price either.
It's never.
So it's a good movie. And I believe that one was a William Castle, I think, if I
It
remember.
was William Castle. Do you remember
Yes.
the ballyhoo about that one?
Uh-uh. Oh
That
yes,
that's
they rigged some of the seats with electrical shocks or buzzers or
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Well, it would vibrate to
Yes.
make it feel like electric shocks. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And some of they were supposed to do it to all the seats, but they ran out of money and could only do like a couple seats. So kids would go in there and find out which seats had the vibrator and sit on that one.
Yeah.
It was, it was kind of a fun. I always thought the monster in that one looked pretty pitiful, actually. Although the story's good, the acting's
Right.
decent, and you always have Vincent Price. But I don't know about the monster.
Yeah, it's very cheap effects, but
Yeah, still a fun movie though. Still definitely a
yeah.
fun. All right, so back around to me.
Yeah, for your
Yes.
final one.
My last one. I'm finally into the 90s, 1998. Into the Heisei. I'm into the Heisei series, although it's not a Godzilla movie. There were a couple Heisei series movies that were not Heisei, that were not Godzilla, I should say. Rebirth of Mothra 3, the last in the trilogy of the Rebirth of Mothra movies. And all three of them are fun. They're very good. Most of them, one and two, kind of just reinvented used more modern special effects, but kind of rehashed a lot of the storylines of the old one. This one I really thought came into its own, and it was kind of like, you're ending on this. I want another one now because my opinion, this is the best of the trilogy. It's very rare when three is going to be the best of a trilogy, but this is one of those rare instances, at least in my opinion, anyway. Mothra
Third time's
fights.
the charm.
That's right. I mean, the other two aren't bad, but I think this is the best of the trilogy, in my opinion, at least. Um, he fights Ghidorah, the three-headed dragon, once again. King Ghidorah is back from his battles with Godzilla in the Heisei series, because Godzilla, there's just still part of the same lineage. So Godzilla died in his battle with Destroya, if you don't know, but Mothra was still around, and of course they killed off Godzilla because he was going to go fight Ferris Bueller in America. But they wanted to keep doing a couple more movies, so they did these three Mothra movies. And this one has a lot of fantasy to it. You not only have the two 6-inch girls, you also have a couple of 6-inch other people from that same island, and one of them rides a dragon and gets in sword fights with the girls and stuff like that. There's a lot of fantasy and action with it. It's really awesome. It's one of my favorites in the entire Heisei series. It's up there as one of my favorites, actually. When the only thing is they did change. Well, I guess in the Heisei series, maybe Ghidorah isn't from outer space because he wasn't in outer space in the one you did last month, Ron. What? Right? He was terrestrial, I think. Here in the
Yeah.
here on Earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so because their idea to kill Ghidorah is they're going to go back in time. Mothra has to go back in time, destroy Ghidorah in 100 million years ago when he was still a dinosaur. But the idea is Mothra might not come back, and I won't give you the spoiler if Mothra does come back or not. But
You know what they should have done? I was just thinking what they should have done was done a sequel to the Ferris Bueller Godzilla movie and have him bring Cameron, and Godzilla goes and talks Mothra into coming, just like Ferris talked Cameron into coming.
not a bad idea. And you know what? In my opinion, Mothra makes any kaiju movie better. She's not always the star, but she is in this trilogy. But she makes all the ones where she's not the star. She brings it up a level every time. She's she is the Wonder Woman of the kaiju world. And there's his Mothra. I do have a Mothra action figure. I didn't bring that one down. Maybe I should have. But it is actually from the Heisei series, the one I have. But anyway, it's a really fun movie, and I rewatched it recently just to see if I did still enjoy it as much, and I did. So Rebirth of, I guess that's technically the last of any of the Heisei series because that comes after Godzilla, and I don't think they did any others after that. I think then they go into the Millennium series just 2 years later when they get the rights back.
Because they sold it to the American company.
Sold it to Sony. Yeah.
So
And
Sony, and then
Sony wouldn't you let anybody use anything. There was a guy who wrote a book on the history of Godzilla, and he had to go in and edit it to make it say big G every time it even referenced Godzilla in the entire book. Sony went ridiculous on their control over the name Godzilla and was really annoying for everybody involved. And then they lost a ton of money on the Ferris Bueller movie, and Toho was like, "Yeah, we'll take that back off your hands." But Sony's kept distributing a lot of the movies too, so they were still involved. But just they had to tone that down a little bit over the people who did horror movie hosts couldn't even do the public domain Godzilla movies. They were like sending them letters. You can't do that. Godzilla's our we own the name
Are there some of
Godzilla.
them that are public domain?
Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, I believe, is.
Oh, okay.
Um, Maybe Godzilla versus Megalon, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. That one might be as well. I think those two are. But yeah, because my one friend, Mr. Lobo, he showed Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, and he had to overdub Godzilla into Gigantus and change the title card to Gigantus versus the Smog
Oh,
Monster
jeez.
to do it for his show, Cinema Insomnia.
oh my
Because
god,
that was during the Sony era. That was just ridiculous. And like, I know lawyers need to eat too, but come on, let's let's tone this down a little bit. It was just
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah, that was. It's kind of sad when they do that. I mean, because I mean, they ruin it. I think they ruin it for the audience, and
Yeah,
then join
absolutely, and the
and
fans, yeah, absolutely. And these little companies, they could, if they would have fought them, they probably would have won. They really didn't have a legal, but who has the money to hire a lawyer and fight Sony? With all the
Exactly.
millions they have. So it's just the big guy pushing around the little guy.
all right. Well, my final one is the sequel to Pacific Rim Uprising. It's 5 years after, um, released 5 years after. Um, and we're in a time when we the kaiju have been defeated, and the Jaegers are you're not allowed to have a Jaeger. And then there was this well, little girl, I guess, and she made her own basically a smaller version of a Jaeger, but instead of two pilot, it's a one pilot thing. And I wish they had more of those because those were actually kind of cool because then they can get into smaller spaces um and of course they I guess the Jaegers are now like policing the area, and it's like with the world is pretty much uh recovering from all those kaiju attacks all over the world, and so it's like they're like going, oh, okay, and it's like the son of the lead character in the first one, he gets himself into some trouble. He's just trouble, but he's a great, I guess a great Jaeger pilot, but he just gets himself into some trouble, and um the the two lead characters from the first one, they're not back, but it had some new characters, and then it had those two, that's mad scientist and I call them the entrepreneur. They're back, and it seems that I guess the entrepreneur guy still has the kaiju in his brain, and all of a sudden they do come back, and they have a bigger plot as how they want to completely terraform the planet so that they can have a place to live. And they're going to do the whole, what do you call in the Pacific Ocean, there's something called the Ring of Fire. It goes all the way around the thing, up the Japanese coast and up through Alaska and then down the Pacific uh, coast of United States and South America, and they're going to turn that into a literal ring of fire and just to scorch Earth and get rid of basically humans. Um, it seems to be a little like they're one-upping everything on this one, and the way they ended it is they opened it up for a sequel, for a third one, and I don't know if it's ever going to be made. I hope it will because you know just and if they do make it, at least if they know it's not going to go any further, just end it where I mean, my thing is I always thought do the how Johnny Sacco and Giant Robot, where the giant robot goes out into space and he's trapped. Have one of the Jaegers, go do the same kind of thing, but in that rift. Uh, a lot of people don't like the second one as much as they do the first one, and I have a friend that actually hates on it, and I'm like going, well, if you expect it's a lot of times sequels don't always live up to the first. So, but just, I mean, it's don't think of it as a sequel, it's just a continuation of the first one. And it's got a lot of cool robots. And then of course the little girl's like a groupie of the of the Jaegers. She's like pointing, oh, that's that one, oh, that's that, and it's like so it had almost a little meta vibe to it. So this is like I said, you really can't go wrong with these Pacific Rims. This one wasn't done by Guillermo. Uh, I guess he was busy with other project at the time, and but it's still good. And that is my final one.
Okay.
Well, that is a wrap.
I got it.
That is a wrap.
It is.
Kaiju wrap. So, so you got 5 films from each of us, so 15 films for everyone out there to check out. Now, if you have, like we always say, if you have 5 films that fall under the criteria of what we've talked about, giant monsters, great and small, put them in the comments so we can check it out. See if you could stump us.
You can come up with a kaiju I have not heard of.
Yeah.
Might come up with a few I haven't seen, but you might not. I don't know. Maybe you will come up with one I haven't heard of. Maybe.
Yeah, you never know. But thank you guys again. Another one, and this is the end of 2025. So
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
And we'll see you next year.
That's right.
Thank you very much for watching this episode. And stay tuned for the next one.